guys. Hey, good morning, Lake Wales. This is Catherine Price, one of the three powerful little ladies. This is June 22nd, and we're doing our 14th, Three Little Ladies podcast. How are you ladies today, you powerful little ladies?
Feeling very powerful.
Charlene, are you feeling powerful?
Yes, I am. I guess we kind of think that we've had an impact of some kind or another in the city commission in a variety of ways, right? Is that where our power is coming from?
Well, they're answering some of the issues that we bring up on this Three Little Ladies, and they do it right away. I mean,
name a couple.
Well, for instance, right away they were being much more open about what's going on with those bricks that are separating downtown.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember them ever explaining that before at a meeting, and yet they got right to it. It's like they want to make sure that it was brought up somewhere in the Three Little Ladies, and they wanted to be more open about what's being done about it. So that was that tipped me off right away that they had watched us.
Well, we're responsible probably for the pandemic. We're probably responsible for, high inflation and interest rates. And we're probably responsible for any kind of real estate slowdown that we're experiencing nationwide. And, and then if there's problems with construction downtown with the CRA, we may be responsible for it.
Sure, fine with that.
I'm looking forward to all that. Wow.
We're responsible for global warming, right?
Yeah, climate change. Yeah. But that doesn't really exist,
Oh, that's right. They would not make us responsible for that because that does not exist.
Yeah, right, exactly.
My bad.
Oh, you're bad. Yeah, okay. So let's just dive right into this city commission meeting that they had last Tuesday on the 16th. What a kind of meeting it was. And I thought maybe you might want to elaborate on y'all's two's comments you made at the beginning, just, briefly. I thought both of your comments were really good,
Well, I just want to say one thing. We usually start off with some kind of a prop, and I just didn't have time to order my Handmaid's Tale costume from Amazon to get it here on time for this, because there was a lot of misogyny going on at that meeting. I always hesitated to be here in the kitchen doing the taping this time because I thought, now that's exactly probably where Commissioner Williams would like me to be. But I want to tell you, I'm not barefoot. Okay, I have my shoes on.
I probably am. I am barefoot.
Several people said to both Juanita and I that they thought and Becky that our comments were mild. And of course, Michelle Thweet said something too. Everybody was pretty mild, but we received what was a rather rageful reaction from two commissioners, which nobody can fully understand. But I guess that speaks to our power. I guess that's what we're looking at there. I do want to say that I have had communication, or I met with Commissioner Williams since then, and he did make a very sincere apology, and he plans to make a public apology about what he said. I appreciated what he had to say. We had a good conversation. I am not wanting to put him down at this point because I think he genuinely realized that what he said was wrong and hurtful.
Well, I have something to say about that. First of all, I'm really glad to hear that he intends to have a public apology because the threat was made in public. And so it should be, an apology should also be in public. He did call me and he did leave on my answer phone an apology. I'm not sure what he was apologizing for. I'm not sure that he knows what he was apologizing for because he said he was apologizing to all women that he might have offended, just kind of general. But anyway.
Well, I think he was referring to his comment about we need to bring a man with us to talk to.
I'm sure that's what he was talking about. But when somebody makes a comment like that, I mean, it's, I appreciate him trying to reach out. But when you make that kind of comment, it gives you a little insight into the mindset of the person who's making that kind of comment. And there have been decisions made that I feel are reflective of a real misogyny on the part of some of the commissioners. By the way, my comments were really very mild. I'd like to make them again, because what I did was I was very encouraged, because Carol Gillespie has recently been questioning contracts that asked to sign. There were some blanks on one of the ones that she brought to the attention of the commissioners, that there were blanks on there, and she didn't feel comfortable voting on something that was not complete. And I also said that I was very happy that, because Deputy Mayor Gibson has recently had some problems getting permits for buildings that he owns, that I was glad that now, because of that, he was bringing it to the attention of the commission, that there really is a problem, as many other people have tried to bring to Slayton and such, and that something will get done about that now. So I really had good things to say. I don't understand what tipped, them over the line there, but they were very unbalanced remarks made by Williams and the mayor, in my opinion.
Well, and I thought in general, the meeting was kind of very poorly put together by city staff. Like that issue of the contract with blanks on it. Actually, I think the problem had been they had at the workshop last week, and they had the wrong document attached to the agenda, and none of the other commissioners had caught that. And it was really refreshing to know that Carol is looking at she's an attorney, has experience in this area, and that she's actually, looking at the board materials. Sometimes you kind of wonder if some of these guys have even read the board materials, or they're just coming into the Wednesday workshop. That's the first time they've seen this stuff.
Right.
And they're just basically rubber stamping what the staff is telling them.
And that's what my comment was. How very refreshing that was. Yeah.
Yeah, there have been a couple of other times recently when at workshops, one or two of the commissioners ask more questions than he normally would have. And I hope that's beginning, possibly spurred by the presence of Carol Gillespie. I hope it's beginning of a more in-depth perusal of things and a more questioning of things, what things really mean on their part, because that would definitely be a step in the right direction.
Yeah, tones down a little of that testosterone that's in the room.
Well, and it's, you kind of wonder whether they really understand what their role as city commissioner is. Their job is basically to make sure that our city runs correctly, and that the current citizens are being protected, in that process. And I don't think that some of these guys, I think that Carol kind of understands it. Robin obviously understands it, but the rest of them are kind of newbies. And I think sometimes it's easier just to wang away on us than to actually do their job.
Mm-hmm. Seems that
Well,
way.
I don't know if we want to get into this right now, but one of the things that came up at the meeting was, I think it was Robin who said, "Are we close to getting that material from that draft on the Charlotte County model for meeting protocol?" And I think a couple of them said, yeah, or he said something like, we'll shoot that one through right away. Like they just couldn't wait to say yes on that, because one or two of the commissioners absent the next meeting, and they wanted to be sure to be able be there to vote on this thing. So it's gonna. We can't say much about it until we actually see. We have a general idea, but we haven't seen it yet. But it's just
their rhetoric is almost like just because of the three of us, they've got to yet again change their meeting protocol to try to shut us down. Exactly. It's like, it's sort of absurd because, honestly, if I have something to say, I'll just stand up during one of the public hearings and say what I got to say.
Yeah.
Yeah, then that will be interesting. I think I've thought of that too. And how will they shut us up? Now they'll probably watch the taping of this, and they'll say, "Uh-oh, we've got to have something in there about how to shut them up if they do that."
It's so funny in a way, and maybe this is too early to bring this up, but the last comment that Mayor Hilligoss said was that the three ladies, he called me out as being a Quaker. He's sick of, I'm the only one that's brought that up. And I thought, yeah, every single invocation you have at the beginning of the meeting basically declares that, very, evangelical Christians are in charge. And yet I bring up the fact that I'm a Quaker and, somehow that's a problem. But, anyway, Pastor Hilligoss, Mayor Hilligoss, said that he never had a request. I did go visit him in his office one time, and I brought him a book about Matthew, Mark, and Luke, the Gospels from the standpoint of a nonviolent Jesus, which I thought was a very interesting exegesis on those passages. And I wrapped it up and made a nice card and took it to him. So I did go visit him, but I thought maybe the three of us should go and talk to him.
Well, knowing that you had met with him, because I remember you telling us about that, and knowing that Charlene has met with Williams.
I've also had breakfast with Daniel.
I was like aghast when I was called a liar. You're lying right now, was said to me. And it's like, come on. You're lying right now.
Well, some of that is just so.
I've come to the conclusion, and I'm going to say this as a joke, but there is not a can opener that is big enough or strong enough to open the minds of some of those guys up there. And it's very frustrating.
Well, I think that, we need to bring it back down to city business. And I think a lot of times most of the time we have kept it very strictly to issues in city business. And we've done a lot of research. I don't know about y'all, but I've spent hours, going through materials that I've gotten from the city, going back and asking questions, trying to verify, because it's hard as a citizen just sometimes to figure out what the heck they're doing because they're not always very transparent about it.
So it's hard to get the information.
Yeah. And they don't necessarily want you to know what they're doing. So it's like, it's hard to figure it out sometimes. Like, and I think that the city commissioners should have better access to this information. I want to see an engaged city commission that's in there doing their research. It's really refreshing to see Carol. I think Robin used to peruse their contracts a little more. Maybe he's just getting tired of it. But, I think it's refreshing to have city commissioners that are actually doing research, coming in with questions that they have about certain things that are on the agenda, and listening carefully to what the people like. I don't think they really answered that woman's question that had come in there about that code enforcement infraction. They just kind of blew her off and said, go to the code enforcement board. And then, the other issue was the issue where that woman and, Al Goldstein, who we've been on the opposite side of issues with before in the past, but he came in and they were asking really valid questions about this planned development project that's going in next to the Sizzler Grill on 27th.
But Catherine, there was something there with the Al Goldstein situation that I noticed, and it once again, it's just such a bias. Al Goldstein spoke during the public hearing, and then he went and sat down, and then another woman got up and spoke, and then an employee of the Sizzling Grill got up and spoke, and Al Goldstein disagreed with something that employee was doing. He walked up from the back, got up, and started discussing during that public hearing and not once did I hear Mayor Hilligar say, "You're out of order. You've already had your chance to speak. Go back and sit down." When I went maybe 3 words over my 5 minutes one time, and he insisted that I go sit down. I mean, it's just it was like, it's okay because
The double standard.
Yeah, I think that was an example of a lapse in protocol, which the mayor did not make any attempt to control. On the other hand, it was also an example of how a little bit of give and take discussion advances our knowledge and understanding and helps the commissioners themselves know better what's going on and helps the staff probably. So it's an interesting balance there.
Well,
I agreed with them. I agreed with their concerns. Like, the one that made me the most concerned was they were talking about how are people, because that particular piece of property is fairly close to that intersection with Mountain Lake Cutoff Road. And oftentimes it is very busy and very congested, particularly at certain times of the day. And they were talking about how are people going to get in and out of that PDP. And they said if there's children that are, and it's also really small apartments. I mean, these are really small units. And they said, if there's children in there, how are they going to get on a school bus? Are they going to have to get on 27, which in my estimation, and I agree with them, would be very dangerous.
And should they even have children in there in 300 square feet? Is there room there to have a family? That doesn't sound right.
Those are so small. They're 50% of what they're supposed to be. They gave them that much of a waiver on it. And they're so small that, it makes you think of that old SROs, the single residency occupancy that used to be for single men and homeless men, etc. That's what this project makes me think of. And I can't get my head around quite who's going to live there. And I guess we won't really know until somebody moves in.
Well, and certainly we probably need some low end rentals in Lake Wales for certain people. But I thought the point was well taken when they said there should be a limit on how many people can live in one of those units. I mean, there were a lot of their comments that I totally agreed with.
Yeah.
Well, my point was that I agree with everything you just said, both of you. But my point was some people's input is given a greater weight than other people's input. That was my.
Well, I think they were a little frustrated the other night that theirs wasn't getting more attention. So it's like, welcome to the club. We've been there, done that on numerous occasions, so. But I'm glad to see more people engaging on some of this stuff.
Yes. We might be in a transition period of some kind. I hope so.
Yeah. So I thought that we might want to bring up the fact that there's still no word on this Bizlink business incubator audit.
Right.
And, I will also say that this company, I forget the name of the company that is doing this audit, has already provided the entire city of Lake Wales's audit, the audit for the Community Redevelopment Agency, all of these much more larger and more significant than this little Bizlink contract. Yeah. And yet still no word on it.
Yeah, I do have a piece of update on that. And I learned that the reason that they haven't come forth with it is they've decided to wait until they can fold in all data up through July the 30th, which is the end of the fiscal year. They want to have 2 full years of data. That's the latest explanation I heard. And who knows, maybe the first year is so bad that they need more of a second year. Maybe they've improved a little bit. They're trying to balance it out. I don't know. But again, nobody has officially said that. and or explained anything. And at the last meeting, there was not a single commissioner who asked about it. Now,
Right.
maybe they know, maybe they've been told that it's being delayed after July 1st and the reason for that, but the public doesn't know that.
Well, the problem I think with that contract, or auditing that contract, was the contract itself was written so poorly by the city that I think it's very difficult for the auditors to audit it
Yes.
in any kind of significant way. I mean,
Yes.
usually in a contract like that, you provide a detailed explanation of your deliverables, and people have to provide it. They had two deliverables: jobs that, with no explanation of what a job entailed, or what it was, or how much it was, or where it was, or anything, or how long it was. Could it be a day-long job? There was also no explanation. They also asked for technical service hours, which there was never any explanation of that. And they did say that you could ask for the financials, but this is a for-profit little corporation. We gave this, I don't think we gave them the last 300,000 of it. I think we gave them the first two, which was 400,000, and then a second amount of money of 500,000 last year. But they already knew that guy Charles Young had been kicked out of the company and had stolen $250,000 of federal grant money at the time that they got their second amount of money from the city of Lake Wales.
Mm-hmm. And they do that. They do that at the time that they did that big celebration. Right. in a commission meeting. They already knew that the theft had occurred at that point, but they went on with their celebration. It was really odd,
and very odd for them. Not odd, but very silly. That's their new word, silly. Very silly of them to think that people would not have questioned something like that, and to insinuate that three little ladies go to the newspaper and have articles written about the mayor and commissioners is ridiculous, when their actions alone actually encourage the newspapers to investigate what's going on there and then write their articles.
Well, I think that part of the reason that they're so fixated on up is that they need to be doing their jobs. There's that issue. There's issues of, giving back these impact fees that they just, voted on in this last, every dollar of impact fees they give back to a developer or residential development in Lake Wales that comes in here is a dollar that our taxpayers have to pay. To me, given that those impact fees at this last city commission amounted to fiscal malfeasance, and they're making decisions that are irresponsible for the long-term financial future. They have a fiduciary responsibility to protect us.
Yeah. And you know what? This impact fee thing brings to mind for me is that impact fees can be used to produce affordable housing. I watch the news and I see in St. Petersburg and Tampa and other places where the city councils are deliberately talking about, we want affordable housing. How can we get it? And they're both cities are building some affordable housing. We don't even hear it mentioned in Lake Wales. And
they are doing some affordable housing down there
over in the northwest.
In the northwest area. But the thing is, our problem in Lake Wales is we need taxable property. We
need both. We need both.
We have a lot of low income housing and property. By the time you take off the what do you call it?
The care centers, the care center stuff.
No. By the time you take off the property, the homestead exemption and everything, then, low cost housing doesn't hardly pay any taxes at all. And we have a very low tax base in Lake Wales. That is the truth.
Well, one of the reasons we may not be hearing that is because we have, for example, a commissioner who is fixated on Lake Alta still after all this time and trying to find a way that he's going to do Lake Alta. And by the way, over at the CRA meeting, I wondered if any of you wanted to just make a comment about Gibson's suggestion of getting a plan for a TND and then shopping it out rather than finding a developer who will then come with a plan.
Well, he's basically talking about the city becoming the developer.
Right.
And it was like, I think that was really way out there. Matter of fact, when he said something later when he was coming off the dais, he goes something like, he had said something about that was an idea he came up with at 2:00 in the morning. And I said, maybe you need to be sleeping a little bit more.
Well, but you know what? I'm going to play devil's advocate on this one, because to me, this is sort of an example of what the city should be doing. It should be saying, we want this and this and this in particular area. And over here, we want we want estates, and over here we want middle-class housing and blah, blah, blah. To be able to say what we want where and give some idea of what it should include, whether it should be mixed or whatever, I think that is really good planning.
Well,
and there are cities that do that, and we could do it too.
But the thing is, he took it really a step further, that we would actually be building these houses.
Yeah, he wanted.
We would hire the builders.
That was a little bit too much. I agree.
Well, I think that right now they're having a hard time overseeing that downtown construction that's going on, and they're making some pretty bad missteps with the construction in downtown area. I think that is a problem for the staff, that this board has got them all over the place. And it's like they need to focus on what they're doing, or they could seriously, misstep with this downtown redevelopment.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, so I think that it's easy to start just picking on us because we're making some hard hitting analysis of what is going on.
Yes.
Yep.
So,
I wanted to talk a minute just about we're at 27 minutes, but we might want to just kind of wrap it up. I appreciated, Carol Gillespie brought up a thing about Juneteenth. Daniel Williams did his little rant, and then thankfully maybe Keith Thompson felt like Daniel had said what he wanted to say, so he thankfully didn't say anything. And then Robin did his thing, and then Jack Hilligoss ended by saying that we need to come visit him.
Yeah. And before we move on from that, let's remind everybody of this water so-called town hall that's coming up on July 16th at 5:00. It's only an hour. It's going to be 3 speakers, and it is no longer being called a town hall. I think it's called an informational session. And the last I heard, it's going to be highly technical. And apparently they're saying if we need to move on from that, then we can have a real town hall some other time. And
if anybody will show up for this.
Hey, that didn't sound very tempting.
No.
Is it
when I looked on the city website, it's not on there yet. The last time I looked, which was about a week ago. Now it's possible that they don't put things on until the month that they're happening. I don't know, but so far,
live streamed. Do you know if it's going to be live streamed?
Probably.
Hope so. They're also having this thing about their new recreation master plan on June 26th, which I would really like to be there, but that's really short notice. And I know that, there are other people that would like to be there. I think that's like that. They just do this. They just pop ups with stuff and then wonder why nobody comes. It's like, give us a little bit of and give us like a way to come in on Zoom or something and ask questions. Make this thing user friendly for the people that you want to communicate with.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's rocket science.
Yes.
So anyway, I was a little bit irritated about this thing on June 26th, but I think people need to show up because there's some kind of goofy things that they've got on there.
Now, wait a minute. June 26th is
I think it's June 26th. I saw that.
of what?
It's for this recreational plan.
Oh, yes. Juanita saw the sign for that today.
Is that going to be a charrette type thing where you
I
can?
have no earthly idea. You know, they just send out this kind of crazy stuff. And
I'm
then
going to try to go. I'll try
let
to
me
go.
see. Oh, here it is. Wednesday, June 26th at 6 p.m.
Yeah, I'm going to go to it. I put it on my calendar, and I'm under the impression that it's kind of a show and tell of updating everybody on what's going on and maybe answering questions. But
Well, we need to know what they're going to be talking about because I might like to send some comments with one of y'all if I knew what they were actually talking about.
well, maybe we'll get more information on the website. We can check that.
Or we could ask for Stephanie or, Jennifer Nanick to give us whatever the materials that they're going to be pinging off for this at this meeting.
Yes. And Catherine, I know I was so bent on getting that information in. I know I cut you off when you were talking about meeting with the mayor. Is that something that you're want to follow up
I
on?
think we should. I mean, he basically issued a public invitation.
Yeah.
And I don't mind sitting down and talking with him.
Yeah. He's he made this statement, both he and Williams made the statement that we don't offer to speak with them. Well, of course, that's not true. And I think Williams kind of apologized about that because I certainly have met with him in the past. And It's true. I know, Catherine, you've met with the mayor. Juanita and I have not.
Well,
But it's also true. But it's also true that he has not asked to meet with us.
Well, it sounded to me like he was asking at the end of the meeting on Tuesday. So that's the reason why I said, I think that we should go talk to him and see what he wants to say. And,
I don't think he was asking. He was just, I don't think he was asking because he wanted to talk with us.
Right.
I thought he was just being, just speaking pejoratively of us.
Why don't we ask him if he'd like to come and speak to us on Three Little Ladies?
Oh,
no, I don't agree with that. I think we should meet privately with him because I mean, if somebody wants me to speak with them, I don't want to call them out. I want to actually sit down and try to have an honest conversation with them. So I think it would be for our benefit and the benefit of the people of Lake Wales for us to try to do that. That's what I think.
Well, I think there's a lot of trust involved. And, like I said, I was called a liar by that man just a few days ago. And it's very difficult to think that I would have enough trust to want to sit down privately and speak with him and never know what he might say I said.
Well, the thing about it is we're not trying to make a marriage here. We're in politics.
Well, thank God for that.
But we could record it, or we could.
Well, like I said, I think that would be disingenuous for me. I think I would want to go and just talk with him and say, hey, here are some of the issues that we're having. What issues are you having? Let's talk about it.
Haven't we been doing that at commission meetings? See, my thing is, why would he listen any more now if we sat with him privately than he listens when we're doing it publicly? I don't,
there are people that like that interpersonal. And also I think that we don't want to make this into a war, and I think that this is not a war. This is city government. We do not have to like everybody that we deal with or even agree with them. And I can like people that I don't agree with as well.
Well, if they don't want a war, then they need to put down their weapons.
Well, you're a hard nut to crack, Juanita.
I don't like name calling, and I've been called a lot of names by this.
I have too.
Yeah, and it's like, you know what? Get with it, guys. This is not the U.S. Senate here.
Yeah. I agree. It is hard after being called the names that the mayor has called us to go and sit down and try and be nice to him. But I think I could do it.
I could too. I'd like to go talk to him and just hear what he has to say, you know. The final thing I would like to say is, you know, these guys get up and they go on these long soliloquies at the end of the meetings, you know, and a lot of times it just increases the amount of tension in the whole atmosphere. I'll say what I would say if I was a city commissioner at the end of each meeting, and I don't care what people had got up and said that I agreed or disagreed with, I would say, thank you all for coming out and expressing yourself tonight. I hope you all have a good evening. Thank you so much for electing me. And that would be the end.
Wouldn't that be nice? Yeah. Well, on that note.
All right, let me see. Let's go out on our little powerful, like I kind of like the music, you know, it's kind of a nice little addition to our, you know, our brand or whatever you want to call it. I like working with this little program we're using. Goodbye to very powerful ladies, and let's just hang in there.
Okay.
Bye,
See you soon.